Yo, what's up guys, Ozzy here. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this wallpaper. And if you guys enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll be sure to make a video on it. The PSD is free in the link in the description. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Alright guys, so what I want you guys to do first is go ahead and open up Upscale. And if you don't already have this, I have a video on my YouTube channel going more in depth about what it does. But basically what it does is it upscales your renders / images into a higher resolution. I'll go ahead and change this to my desktop. Alright, so as you guys can see, is it changes your renders a lot. Alright, so go ahead and open up Photoshop and create a new document. And then I want you guys to go ahead and make the width 1125 and your height 2436 and then your resolution 300. And then you can go ahead and just copy these. Then you can go ahead and hit create. Next, what you're going to do is go ahead and make a solid color. Make it black or white, whatever one. Delete your background. And now you guys are going to go ahead and drop in your render. Alright, so now that you got your render in, what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be laying out everything before we add in all the effects, highlights, and shadows. So go ahead and get your rectangle tool. We're going to make a rectangle. And we're going to go ahead and take that off. And then go ahead and make the color whatever color you want that's going to match your render. So I'm going to go for this red. Gonna look right here. Alright, so I will have this in the background just to give me an example of what I did for my layout. So first what we're gonna do is go ahead and put this behind our render. And then we're gonna scale it up in a way to where it looks like she's almost standing on top of the shape. So scale it up here. Want it about right there. And then go ahead and right click and hit perspective. Put that right there. And then we're gonna hit scale and drag it up. Let's see, about right there. Move it over a little bit. This should be good right there. Go ahead and just match it up real quick. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and move that down about right there. Go ahead and hit screw and then drop it down just a little bit. Alright, so that's our first shape. So the next shape I wanted was obviously the bottom where she's standing on. So go ahead and hit screw one more time just so I can position this up at the right angle. Alright, so now we're going to make our second shape. Go ahead and turn this off. Make it the same color as the last shape we just did. And now I'm going to drop it behind the render. Go ahead and turn this back on just so I can make it even with the first one. Make sure the sides are matched evenly. Put that right there. And we're gonna just drag this back. Alright, so what we should end up is something like this. Go ahead and make this a little more even if you need to. Alright, so now we got our first two shapes. So next what we're going to do is add another shape. And we're going to put it on top. So here. about right there. Alright, so next thing we're gonna do is add our background. So we're gonna make this black. Go ahead and make another rectangle, but this time we're gonna make it white. So make a new layer, make a rectangle, make sure it's white. So the look I was going for this was almost like the rectangles are going into another room. As you can see right here, that's the look I kind of wanted it to have. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back on. Hit Control T on our white rectangle, our white one. Then we're gonna just go ahead and position it where we want it. So right there. So right now we're basically just getting our layout, guys, and just to make it easier on me, I'm using this as a guide. So now that we have our background, we're gonna go ahead and make another rectangle. Make sure it's along the edges, but this is gonna be our border. So make it white. And then put the pixels up to, say, about right there. Put it up to 18. Drop it beneath the bottom, the very bottom layer. And then, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and make that a little less. Go right there. Right there looks good. See if we have everything. All right, so for our next shape, we're gonna go ahead and drop it, make another rectangle. And then gonna make it red. Go ahead and position that right here. All right, so now what we're gonna do is go to our render, get your pen tool, and you're gonna wanna basically click around and go here, here. All right, so now what we're gonna do is make selection, copy that layer, drag it up above. So now we have our shape behind the tail. All right, so next what we're gonna do is go back here to the above your white rectangle. We're gonna make another rectangle, make a new layer. But for our background, we're gonna go ahead and make it a little bit darker so it separates from the brighter reds up front. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and position it where I want it. So right there is good. Then you're gonna go ahead and make a new layer. Make another, actually go ahead and just, instead of doing that, this way is quicker. So just hit Control J, copy that, Control T, and we're gonna just basically flip it horizontal. And then we're gonna go here. And then we're just gonna position it where we want it. All right, so make sure these two layers are on the bottom. and then go ahead and clipping mask this one to the white rectangle, so that way it stays inside of it. Alright guys, so go ahead and rename everything so you'll have everything organized. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so now that you have everything organized, next what we're going to be doing is adding our shadows for our rectangles. So for our first rectangle, we're going to go ahead and start with our middle one. Create a new layer, create a clipping mask, and then you're going to go ahead and grab your brush tool. Make sure your hardness is set to 0 and your flow on 84. And then you just want to basically separate them by adding a shadow to your rectangles, just to give it a little bit of depth to your design. I'm gonna go ahead and do that for the top layer now. Same thing guys, just adding the shadow. Go ahead and do that for the bottom layer now. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and do that for the background rectangles. Go ahead and do the same thing, guys. Create a clipping mask. Get your brush tool. You just want to separate it right here. And go ahead and go to this one. But for this rectangle, guys, we're going to go ahead and make a new layer. But instead of creating a clipping mask, we're going to just basically get our lasso tool, our polygon tool, and we're going to click around it. Make sure it's even. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and hit our brush tool. And same thing, guys, just basically creating a shadow just to separate it from the other shape. Alright. So now that we got that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our foreground rectangle. Create a new layer. Same thing, guys. Just going to get our brush tool. Give it a little bit of a shadow. Alright. So next thing we're going to do is add our text. So go ahead and get your text tool. Put whatever you want. For me, I'm going to put Ellen Joe for the character's name. Make sure it's white or whatever color you guys want. So now what I want you guys to do is go to your blending options, make a drop shadow, make sure it's close to the letters. Right there. We're just gonna lower the opacity by like out there. I'm gonna scale that down a bit more. Alright. So now we're going to put our back text that I have right here. Actually, what I want you guys to do is go ahead and double click your text layer. Go here. And we're going to spread out the letters about like right there. However you guys want y'all's text, I'm going to put mine like that. And then now for our back text, you're gonna go to your background layer, put it above this one, your top rectangle, and then you're gonna make a new text. So for me, what I like to do is I'll go on Google and Go ahead and go on Google right now, guys, and look up English to Japanese translator. And I'll type in the character's name. Just gonna copy that. So now we're gonna make a new text. Control V to paste it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get the font that I want. I also have a free font pack, guys. If you guys are wondering what fonts I'm using, they're in the link in the description below. Make sure that's above the shadow. All right. So now what I want you guys to do is go ahead and add a drop shadow again. Make sure the angle is right there. All right. So next what we're gonna do is create a clipping mask. Actually, we're gonna have to clip the shadow layer. So go ahead and convert this to a smart object and then create a clipping mask. And then next, what I want you guys to do is kind of hit Control T and kind of angle this to where it looks like it's following along with the rectangle's position. Let's say about right there. And then just go ahead and scale it up a bit. Say about right there. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and add our circles. So the effect I wanted for this design was this glowing circle above to act as our light source hitting the character, so I could add like shadows back here. And that was the effect I basically wanted to go for. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and make a new layer, make your brush black, and then put your brush hardness all the way up, and then make sure your flow is all the way to 100. So go ahead and just make your circle above. And then what I want you to do next is make a new layer, create a clipping mask. And then I got the color already right here. You can go ahead and copy the hexadecimal code. All right, now that you got that copy down, I want you guys to go ahead and copy these settings I have down. Go to your layer, right click, go to blending options, add a inner glow. Make sure the blending mode is on screen, 35 opacity, red, and your technique is on softer, edge, and then your choke 0, your size is 90, and for your range, make sure it's on 50%. And then once you guys get that copied down, go ahead and add a outer glow. Make sure your blending mode is on screen, your opacity is on 35, the same thing, red, and your technique is on softer, and your size is on 87. And then just go ahead and copy these down. And then after that, I want you guys to go ahead and add a drop shadow. Make sure it's on 63% opacity. Your color is black and your distance is 61. And then for your size, make sure it's 76. And then after that, you're gonna go back to your clipping mask, lower your brush opacity down to 0. And then what we're gonna do is basically just add in a gradient right here on your circle. Make sure you leave some black in the middle because we want to go for this effect right here. Basically just making it a little more three-dimensional to make it just pop out in the scene. Alright guys, so once you guys do that, we're gonna add a exposure layer, create a clipping mask, brighten it up about right there, and then you want to hit Control I to invert the layer mask. And then on your white brush layer, go ahead and add in some more brightness to it. Say about right there. Go back in here, add in just a tad bit more red. Say that looks good right here, maybe a bit more right there. And that's how you do your circle. And then after that, just group everything. Control J, make a copy of it. And then we're just gonna Control T, drag that down. Scale up your circle. I'm gonna put it about right there. It should be good. And then after that, go into your group layer and then go ahead and add a little more brightness right here. That should be good. And then we're gonna make another copy. Drag that layer down behind your white background. Control T, drag that up. Make sure it's also behind the border as well. And then we're gonna scale that down about right there, maybe a little smaller, just to give it some depth. Now that we have our circles done, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to do some highlights and shadows. But before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and add in these shadows behind our character. So first, what you guys are gonna do is go ahead and grab your polygon lasso tool. And then I'm basically gonna just make these shapes real quick. Make a new layer. Drop it above or underneath your character. Then you want to basically just click and make these real quick. Alright, so what you're going to do next is go ahead and get your brush tool. Make sure it's black. And then you're basically just going to make sure you're on your shadow layer. And you basically just want to make sure it's darker near her shoe more. And then you want to just basically just add your shadow leading up here. About there is good. Alright, then now we're going to add our next shadow. And if you're new to Photoshop and you ever mess up with the polygon lasso tool, to go back, you want to just hit backspace. Alright, so same thing, guys. Go ahead and just fill that in. Alright, so for the next shadow we're going to add is for the tail. So what I like to do for my shadows is I like to make a new layer above it. And go to blending option. Add a drop shadow. And we're basically just gonna make our shadow real quick, make it look good. Say about right there. And then I'll make a layer mask, invert it, and we're basically just gonna add on our shadow. Or invert it back and then hide this layer. Go to brush tool, hit X. And then we're basically just going to erase our layer. Just until it reaches right about there. That should be good. Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you how to do highlights and shadows. So go ahead and make a curves adjustment and clipping mask it to your render. And go ahead and lower it down a bit. About right there. Hit Control I to invert it. Go ahead and get your brush tool to make sure it's white. And then when it comes to shadows, you always want to look at basically where your light source is. So for highlights, as you can see in the front, obviously your light source is here, so you want your highlights to be more in the front. And then you want to add shadows to where the light wouldn't be hitting. So go ahead and add some shadows here. And as you can already see, like the huge difference it makes to your renders whenever you add shadows and highlights to them. I mean, you just go from this to that, and it looks really nice to your designs. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more shadows. It may not be perfect at first. I'm just doing a quick tutorial to show y'all how to do it. Add some more shadows there, here a bit. And of course, since the light's here, I'm gonna go ahead and add some shadows here. That's good. Alright guys, so I want you guys to keep adding shadows to your design, and I'm gonna go ahead and go into a time lapse, and I'll be right back once I finish. And then after that, I'm gonna show you guys how to do your highlights. Alright guys, so I think I have all the shadows that I need for now to my liking. So if you end up running into this problem where you have this line right here because of your shadows, you're gonna want to go ahead and go above your tail layer, and you're gonna want to go ahead and add a curve adjustment, and you're gonna go ahead and lower it till that line disappears. And then you want to hit Control I, go back to your render, Control, click your image. And then what you want to do is go ahead and blend that in till it disappears. And then you can also go back here, flip it till you have your black layer, and then make it disappear if you don't want that line there. And then you can just go ahead and go back here, and then you want to just blend it in. Alright, so now that you got that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a bit more shadows here, not too much because I don't want to hit that line. Alright, so now that we got that done, I'm gonna show you guys how to do the highlights. So for your highlights, you want to go ahead and add a exposure layer, create a clipping mask. I'm gonna brighten it up right there. Don't worry about this line right here because you're not gonna really hit that area too much anyway. So just brighten it up about there. Hit Control I again. And now you want to just basically add highlights to where you feel like the light is hitting. So right here is good. We'll add some highlights right there. Turn my flow up a little bit. So if you ever need like a tutorial on like how highlights work, of course I'm showing you guys right here, but there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube about lighting, how light interacts with a certain scene. So if you guys need to look up that, you can always just go on YouTube and find more tutorials on it, because right now I'm pretty much showing you a quick way of how to set everything up, but it's not too in depth of how lighting and all that works. But it should help you form like a good example of how to use the tools that you need. Alright guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and just go into a time lapse and you can see what I do real quick, and then I'll be right back whenever I finish. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how to color your highlights. So what you want to do is go to hue saturation, make sure it's underneath your exposure layer, and then you want to hit Alt, click, and drag this onto your hue layer. And then you're going to go ahead and hit replace. And then once you do that, you're going to go in here, hit colorize, make sure you hues to whatever position you want it. Don't mess with your lightness for this one. Only mess with your saturation. And then you want to drag this up about wherever you like it, say about right there. And then next what I'm going to show you guys is how I like to add or just enhance this effect. So you're going to make Control J it. Actually, close that, delete that, and then make another hue saturation. You can create a clipping mask, colorize, drag this all the way up, make sure it's this clipping mask, Control I, and then you want to just lower your flow, and then you want to basically brush over this right here, and that'll enhance your highlight and glow effect to make it look like it's illuminating onto your render. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys how to enhance your highlight effect even more. Go to your highlight layer, go to blending option, and then mess with your blend if slider by holding Alt, click, and then you want to drag this over. And what that does is it basically makes your highlights look more natural. Now you want to go to this, your first hue saturation layer, blending option, basically the same thing, drag it over, Alt, click, move it over till you like it, and then hit OK. Alright, now that y'all got that done, go ahead and mess with your designs a bit, now that you know how to use highlights and shadows. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just add in everything I need real quick. So I'm just going to add in the layer that I have from here. And then let me go ahead and show you guys how to add shadows for your rectangles. So go ahead and go to your middle rectangle, go to blending option, add a drop shadow. And you want to just basically position it about right there. Make your size a little higher. You can go ahead and copy the rest of these settings. And then go to your top rectangle. Same thing, go to blending option, add a drop shadow. Go right there. Just so it looks like it connects with this one. And then hit OK. Go to your bottom layer. Same thing, blending options, drop shadow. But this time we're going to go, I'd say about 75. And then just leave your settings the same. So what I'm going to do now is basically just add in everything I need real quick. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to show you guys basically how to use camera raw filter and how to render out your project. Alright, so now that I have everything I need, I'm going to go ahead and add my glows. So make a new layer, put that layer on screen, grab your brush tool, go ahead and make it a little bit red, let's say about right there. Make your flow up just a little bit. And then you want to just click and add some glow to your characters or your renders, just anywhere in your design. Alright, so now that you added your glows, go ahead and go to the top layer, go all the way down to the bottom, shift click the bottom layer, hit Control G, and then title your group layer main, hit Control J to copy it, and then hit Control E to merge everything. And then what I want you guys to do next is grab your rectangle marquee tool, and then click the top left corner, and then drag down to the bottom corner, right click, hit cut, and then delete the bottom layer. And then what I want you guys to do is convert this to a smart object. And now what we're gonna do is go ahead and mess with camera raw filter. So when using camera raw filter, you basically want to just mess around with the sliders till you get something you like. But first, what I want you guys to do is click this, because it'll show you before and after and everything you basically changed. So go ahead and just mess with your exposure a bit. This is something you like. Mess with your contrast, your highlights, your shadows. Just basically mess around with everything till it looks good, pretty much. Go to your color, mess with your temperatures, your tint. What I like to do is, for my designs, I like to mess with my vibrance a bit more, just to add some more color to my designs. Go to your effects, add texture to it. Make the clarity a bit more. And then go to curves. If you want to mess with your curves, go here. And so what your color mixer does is it basically messes with your hues. So if you want to ever mess with like a color in your design and you want to change the colors around, that's what this is for. Now for color grading, you can go ahead and mess with your midtones, your shadows, and your highlights. But I like it where it's at, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it right there. Maybe just change that just a little bit to add some more like color to her skin. And then after that, for details, you can go ahead and mess with that if y'all want. But I like everything the way it is right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. And that's pretty much how you render out your project, guys. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and for whoever stayed this far, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and go ahead and comment down which I want to see next, guys. I always love making things for you guys and teaching you guys new things. So go ahead and leave a comment. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.